Hi everybody. I hope your graphing went well yesterday and you're understanding how to do things. Today we're going to do more of the same thing, so you need graph paper, ruler, and pencil again. And we're going to add just one little step before the 4 steps that I talked about. So we're going to go right to an example here. So example 1. The equation you're going to get for the practice today is not going to start with y equals. So you're going to get something that looks more like this. Negative 3x plus y equals 7. So before you can set up your table or make your graph, what you need to do is change this equation around so that you have y equals by itself. So we did this earlier in the year, but only quickly, so let's go through this. If I need to get y by itself here, I need to get rid of the negative 3x. So I'm going to add 3x, and I'm going to do that to both sides of the equation. So over here, a negative 3x with a positive 3x, that's 0. I'm left with y. And here I have a 7 and a 3x. Now those are not like terms, so I can't put them together. So I'm just going to write them separately. I'm going to write the term with the x first, a positive 3x and a positive 7. Now if you switch this, you would still be correct, but typically they put the term with the x first and then the constant after that. So now we have an equation that looks like yesterday. Y equals 3x plus 7. And now we can make our table just like yesterday. We're going to set this up and make our columns. We've got our x, we've got our y, and now that we have it in the y equals form, we're going to put this part of the equation in the middle, just like yesterday. Okay, so let's pick our x values. And let's go from here. So 3 times negative 2, that's negative 6 plus 7 is 1. 3 times negative 1, that's negative 3 plus 7 is 4. We've got a 7. Now this is going higher. Keep that in mind when we make our graph. We're up to 10. And up to 13. So when we make this graph, we just might have to make the y-axis a little longer than we're used to, but we can do that. Okay. And I'm just going to put the x-axis down here. Oh, let me make sure you can see that. All right. I'm going to put the x-axis down here, making sure I can get all the way up to that 13, and that's totally fine. Okay. What am I missing? Can you guys tell? I need to label the x and the y. Let's make sure. 11, 12. Ooh, I'm going to just be off. That's okay. And we're going to label on the lines. Watch out in that negative 1 spot again. Okay, and we are going to plot our points. And let's see if I can zoom in for you a little. Okay. So the first point, negative 2, comma 1. There we are. Then we've got negative 1, comma 4. And 0, comma 7. 1, comma 10. And here I'm going to be a little off. 10, 11, 12, 13 would be up there. Okay, and then we're going to connect, draw the line, and we're going to put the y equals form of the equation on the line. So y equals 3x plus 7. Okay, and there you go. So the new thing for today is if it's not in y equals, you have to do that first. Everything else is the same. Still 5 points on the table, still labeling the x and y, arrows on your line, and equation on the line. Okay, So let's practice just a couple more changing the equations, and then you guys can get to your practice. So let's say this is example 2, and they're going to give you the problem x minus 3y equals 6. Okay, so again, my goal is to try to get y by itself. So chip away on the outside. This is a positive 1x. To get rid of that, I am going to subtract it. So the 1x minus the x is gone. Don't lose that negative sign. I am left with negative 3y. And now, again, I'm going to put the x term first. So that's really a negative 1x. You could put the 1 if you wanted to. And I have a positive 6. Okay, so now to get y by itself, I have to divide by negative 3. And I have to divide the entire side over here by negative 3. Now on the left-hand side, that's easy. I'm left with just y. Here, this negative 3 has to go to both of these terms, kind of like we did with polynomials. So you've got, let me put the 1, a negative 1 over a negative 3. I'm going to leave that as a negative. A negative divided by negative is a positive, so that would be a positive 1/3 x. So you could write it as 1/3 x, or, just x over 3, that's fine. Now we have to do the same thing over here. I have a positive 6 divided by a negative 3. That's going to give me a negative 2. So I'm going to write this as x over 3 minus 2. All right, so you know what? Let's graph this one. I'm going to make my table here. And I want to graph this because, again, we're left with kind of a difficult equation. So I've got my x, I've got my y, I've got x over 3 minus 2 in the middle. So I don't know if you remember yesterday, excuse me, but yesterday when we had a fraction like this, we were clever with what numbers we picked. So I'm going to go ahead and pick numbers that are divisible by 3. So maybe negative 6, negative 3, 0, 3, and 6. So now when I plug these in, this will work out a little nicer. That's negative 2, so that's negative 4. Negative 3 over 3 is negative 1. Got negative 2. You can see the nice pattern we're creating here. Negative 1, 6 over 3. Yep, that works out. Okay, and then you would graph those points on the coordinate plane. All right, to save time on that, I just want to show you one more changing of the equation, and then you guys can practice. Here's the last one. 10x minus 5y equals 15. So just practicing changing that into y equals. Try to think ahead of me here. What would you do first? Well, you got to get rid of the positive 10x. So you would subtract 10x from both sides. You're left with a negative 5y, and I'm going to say that's negative 10x plus 15. Okay? And now to get y by itself, you would divide by negative 5. See ya. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is positive 2, so you have a 2x there. And 15 divided by negative 5 is negative 3. So here is what you would graph. You would make your table. You would do the coordinate plane. I'm going to stop here and let you guys do the 3 homework problems. It's just like the 3 we did here, so change them into y equals forms first, make your table, and then make sure you label everything on the graph. All right, please email me if you have any questions. Keep up the good work. See you tomorrow.